Njengoba bese ngishilo ukuthi siphethe ama-South African champs in studio today from the Soweto Pool Association, which is based la elokishini eMletsane. They are champs in the games of pool, snooker, and both Chinese 8 and 9 ball. Nicola Rossouw is the current SA Black Ball Ladies Champion, SA 6 Red Snooker Champion, and the only lady playing the Chinese 9 ball in Mzansi. And Wetsi Morake, among other titles, the SA Black Ball Men's Champion, SA Chinese 8 ball champion, and 3 times All Africa champion, and both are Protea Cup champions, and we have them in studio today. Guys, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us today.
No, thank you very much for having us.
Thanks.
I mean, so many titles that I just mentioned now.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
with you, Nicola, you just came back to represent South Africa in Poland. Tell us about that trip.
I don't really want to talk about it. But yeah, it was a great experience. I think if any pool player would wanna represent the country overseas. I got the shock of my life. I just couldn't. I couldn't perform. I just freeze. I made every ball, but I was just understroking, overstroking, and yeah, we're just preparing for more to come as I'm on my way to China in a couple of days' time. Another international tournament, and I'm just trying to have a world title. I've got so many South African titles, and I'm just hungry for a world title. I
mean, everybody wants to know, especially for a sport like this, that how did somebody start in the game, or how did somebody become or join the game? For you, it's a very emotional experience or emotional journey.
Yes, definitely. I started at the age of 9. Somebody introduced me to the game in a game center. I'm originally from Port Elizabeth. Yeah, so 2 things. Somebody introduced me to the game of pool, and I also got involved in drugs at the same time. And I was involved up till 11. At the age of 11, I got involved in drugs, and I haven't touched the table ever since. 22 years old, I only woke up and I decided I want to come back into the game. So 11 years of my life were wasted as a drug addict, but great to be back in the game, man.
But you would say now, having joined now the game of pool as well, having been introduced, it might have saved your life in some sort, because you are using that experience now to give back to the community.
Definitely. I think a lot of people says, no, I don't want my kids near a pool table because
they think it's a tavern
exactly,
sport.
You know. And but here I am. I'm 16 years clean of drugs, and I'm living my life in a club, playing pool, and pool has become a substitute for my addiction, and that is what I want to continue to do, to market the sport, to develop youth to get into the game and to become champions, and to possibly become a quicker world champion than I mean, Wetsi have the opportunity. He is a former world champion, and I'm still striving. But what I'm saying is we need young generation to get out there and to get in there, to get those titles early in their age. And I think that's what I'm living for.
A motivating story indeed. Now, Wetsi, bringing you in as well, you just came back from the All Africa Champs.
Yes,
I mentioned all these categories of this game. I mentioned the Chinese 8 ball, the 9 ball, the pool, the snooker. I think us in South Africa, all we know is the snooker, because we all just play it at the bar on a daily basis. What would you say the difference is? And also just touching how your trip was in the All Africa Champs.
Okay, basically, thank you for having us on studio on this channel. Just to clarify it so that people can understand, snooker, it works on points. It's a much bigger table. Obviously, like the biggest in terms of status, it's the number 1 in terms of status when you compare to pool and 9 ball. So combined, they're called Q sports. So snooker works on a point system, and then 9 ball is just 9 balls which you put in a sequence from 1 to 9, and then the one that puts the 9 wins. And then black ball, which we call snooker, like us, it's 7 reds or 7 yellows, and then there's a black ball. So obviously the one that puts their own color first and then puts the black ball is the person that wins the game. So combined, they're called Q sports. So if somebody sees Q sports somewhere, then they know we are either talking about 9 ball or black ball or snooker. In terms of achievements and African championships, this medal that I've got, we've successfully defended both championships in terms of team events. South African men as well as South African women, they both won those titles. And unfortunately, I couldn't defend my title. Yeah, a youngster from Bloemfontein, South African, Aiden Joseph, he hammered me in the early rounds. And then the title eventually got won by a Zambian, So they are very good. It shows the competition is tough. But thanks to Madeleine from Port Elizabeth, she won the women's category. So we came back with that title, at least from the entire event, you know. So it was a good achievement.
I mean, spending so much time having to represent South Africa in the continent and the rest of the world, Nicola, we're seeing so much titles in here, but in terms of the growth of the sport, especially from a female side, how would you say the elevation is going?
Well, I think it's very slow compared to the men. We are very few ladies playing. Obviously, I think because I don't know, ladies think that they're better than the men, but I definitely don't think so, because I always compete against the men, and I think that's why I'm there, you know. And yeah, we're just encouraging the ladies to get in there. You know, they also are just lost in the final of a car. I think it was in February, 300,000 rand car. I had to beat all the ladies to get into the final. I lost to Ishmael, also one of the players, South African players. I lost to him in the final of the car. You know, and yeah, so we're really trying to get ladies out there to grow the sport. So that we can have these numbers and so that we can compete against these men.
I'm always going to go back to these titles because one of these titles is the world champ that is sitting right in front of us now. Yeah. But in terms of the recognition, Wetsi, I mean, if it's from the sports Department of Sports and Recreation, how's the recognition there, and how's the coverage when it comes to the media and sponsorship for your guys, allowing you guys to go to the world and represent South Africa?
Well, one thing I can tell you, you know, from the time I became world champion, obviously pool was absolutely not recognized, hardly ever on media. You know, for me, I know thanks to Soweto TV, they've started, since we started the association in 2007, they've always been there with us through thick and thin. So, and in terms of the sports and recreation, obviously our administration was a big challenge, whereby we were 3 entities. You know, you have snooker, you have 9-ball, and you have black ball. Always trying to communicate with the government. But then it was, in terms of the government, it was incorrect. You know, for example, look at athletics. You have different disciplines in athletics. You know, they speak one language. You know, so we had to become similar to that, whereby we all join and form a South African Confederation of Q Sports, whereby when we communicate with the government, we communicate with one language, with one voice, as Q Sports. You know, when we go and compete internationally, we go as Q Sports, this discipline. You know, so that it took us some time, at least over the past 5 years. We had to change our mindset, change our administrative structures. You know, when you speak at local level, you have to be whatever, for example, Soweto Q Sports or Johannesburg Q Sports, all the way to the top. So we have done that. So now the government is saying, now you must be represented in municipalities. So in Johannesburg, for example, right now we are communicating with the city of Joburg. Recently, they've said, during the Johannesburg Championships, we'll be able to assist you guys with transportation to the event. That is a good start. You know, previously players used to battle, how do I get to this tournament? Because most of the time it's in Midrand, it's far, you know. So it shows that now there is a relationship that we have built. It's just that we have to improve on that, you know. And in terms of sponsorships, we are still lacking. Pool, when you win a major event, it's not a life-changing achievement, you know, because of lack of sponsorships. I mean, you win an SA championship, you get 20,000 rand. That's a check that I've got. You know, the first title that I won, it was 10 years ago. This is the second title that I've got in the men's. But I mean, it's so difficult to win that title. But when you win it, it's like, you know, you just won 5 rand, because that money doesn't change your life, you know. So we are appealing to all the sponsors, all the companies which would like to promote their brands, you know, to associate themselves with Q Sports as a whole, you know, because the market is huge. I mean, look at our numbers. We have more than 10,000 players in the country that play the sports professionally. You know, and how many millions more just played for recreation purposes. So the market is there for you to market or promote your brand, your company, whatever. So, and we want to empower, to get a lot more organizations, especially at the local level, to be to be registered officially. Just like, for example, Soweto Pool Association is an officially registered organization. Hence, recently we've received sponsorship from the National Lotteries Commission, you know, to help us with the development of the sport. You know, coming soon is called Tour de Pool, which will be doing a tour in and around Soweto, whereby it's fully funded by the Gauteng provincial government, you know. So those are the things that once you are an official entity, a lot more things can change and they can get better. So we've passed that stage whereby we were not official. Now we are official. It's just to work on that to get better and better.
Definitely, we'll keep continuing the conversations, Lagu Soweto TV. And I want to thank you guys for taking the time to join us on the show today, and all the competitions that you're going to be going there. I will be mentioning it at the end of the day, and also with the details of the Soweto Pool Association as well, where people can reach you and where people can come and support you. So I wish you all the best, and continue and hold up the torch for South Africa.
No, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
There we go. South African pool, snooker and Chinese 8 and 9 ball champions Nicola, Rossouw and Wetsi Morake. We continue to share the foundation nomalwandle after the break. Yena uzobe sesiphatheleni. If you want to know, uzohlala net kanjalo.